And welcome to In-Game Chat for Saturday, August 10th, 2013. This is Season 7, Episode 27. I'm Scott.
I'm James.
And I'm RJ.
And welcome to the show. If you'd like to get in touch with us, our phone number is 334-272-9228. You can find us on Twitter at In-Game Chat as well as on Facebook. You can email us, everyone, at ingamechat.net, and we're streaming the cam feed right now through Twitch TV. You can go over there and watch the cam, and you can join us in the chat room live while we broadcast. Plus, we're on YouTube as well. You can subscribe to our channel and enjoy the videos, which we actually uploaded a couple of different videos than just the show. We're gonna use that channel to put the cam feed up there as well. So if you can't join us live, then you can always go to YouTube and watch it if you like doing that. It's the same as the audio. There's really, you don't get a benefit, I suppose, as just watching us live than, either seeing us scramble to fix something that broke or to, just interact with each other and see the looks on RJ's faces that we so often reference every now and again when we're talking to him about stuff that he knows about and things that we don't. Which is probably going to be a lot of what this show will be as well, since James and I jumped into some Dark Souls. We'll be talking about that a little bit later on. But this past week, we decided to stream some games, and I decided to stream some games. We're just trying to get that whole thing working. We're going to use that a lot more. To put, it's not just going to be pinball, which is up there right now, but we're going to be putting up Dark Souls and Witcher 2 and just, anything at all that we want to play and want you guys to watch. And we're going to be doing it with commentary. You're rarely ever going to see a video go up there that we're going to be talking through, and just having conversation.
I don't think there's anything that we're good enough at playing that it would be interesting to watch without hearing us talk over it.
I kind of agree with that. Are you going to...
Except for RJ, maybe.
That's true. If RJ ever does
I'd like to see RJ record or stream some Fight Mans online.
We'll have to see. You can tell me how to get into streaming technology. I could probably get in on that. Probably do some Virtual Fighter. That's probably the best fighting game I'm at right now. Best game I'm best at right now. So I could probably put some of that up if need be.
Needs be, without a doubt.
Okay.
It does, yeah. Because, you're not going to get that from any of us.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, so definitely check that out. And like I said, we're going to get more videos up there. I don't know. You want to stream something tomorrow?
I do want to stream something tomorrow.
What do you want to stream tomorrow?
I want to stream you playing Dark Souls for the first time.
Yeah, I jumped into that a little bit this morning, trying to get things set up and getting things ready to go for a possible potential stream. So
we take suggestions, though.
Yeah, definitely send us some suggestions. I know if we've got the game, we'll play it. If we don't, we'll look into getting it and playing it as well. Tons of talk on Twitter lately for a little indie game called Papers, Please. And
I just picked that up.
Did you?
I did.
Okay. Well, I'm thinking. So you haven't put any time into it. You just went ahead and got it.
Nope.
Okay. I haven't looked at it either. Lots of positive things. I recently, just before we came on, looked up the guy who made the game. Lucas Pope is his name, and he actually made a game. I wasn't aware of this, called Helsing's Fire. It's for the iPhone. And it was released, years and years ago. It's carried over a couple of different iPhone iterations that I've had now. So, but it was one of the first games that I really, really enjoyed playing on my iPhone. And it was only available for the iPhone anyway. But it was one of the first games I really didn't feel like some type of clone of something else. Mm-hmm. Not a match your colors thing, and everything like that. But it was a lot of fun. So I'm enjoying looking forward to playing that. So that's what I'll be getting into next week sometime. Probably stream some of that as well. So lots of game streaming going on. Anyway, what's been happening this week as far as news stuff going on?
Carmack.
Oh, that's right. You didn't see not necessarily didn't see it coming. I sort of wasn't surprised by it. I was, but he's been a supporter of that. The
he's
Oculus.
also been a critic of it. He was a critic earlier on, I understand, of its performance. And it obviously, he apparently thought it was a too high latency of a device. What we're talking about here, obviously, is one of the founders of id Software, John Carmack, has agreed to take, I guess it's the chief technology officer position with Oculus to work on the Rift, and has invested himself pretty heavily in it. He has not left his position at id, and he is the last of the founders to still be working at id. If you take a look at the recent history of that company, compare it to the distant past, it doesn't really look like his influence has been felt nearly as much in recent years as it has previously. But so we really imagine that he's not losing much influence by moving primarily over to work on the Oculus Rift, which is the crowdfunded VR goggle game interface thing that is still kind of nascent at the moment. But anyway, he's going to be stepping away from, I guess, a position of prominence at some level at id and going to work directly with the Oculus. I know he has been interested in it. He's at his core, he's an engineer and a technologist. He's the kind of guy, we say this all the time, id was always known for creating fantastic technology and mediocre games. Their code was really hot and the actual gameplay was lukewarm. So seeing the man move out of a place that hasn't actually performed particularly well, or hasn't performed up to the memory, I guess, of what a lot of us still hold in our heads and hold dear to us from the mid to late 90s, he's moving into a position where maybe all of that engineering funk, maybe everything it is that really makes him the kind of guy he is, makes him interested in what's happening in the world, can kind of be reignited or maybe magnified to some extent. And he can go over to Oculus and see that project becomes everything that it really can be. And like I said, I don't know what his specific complaints were. I believe it was about latency and responsiveness of the Oculus VR goggles.
Well, Doom 3 was one of the first games that they showed for the Oculus, or at least the first games that I ever saw, or that I ever experienced with it's the only game I ever experienced with the Oculus.
Right. And you first saw it a year ago at PAX.
I first saw it, right? It was a year ago at PAX, and in fact, it was some modified ski goggles with...
I remember that.
A lot of electrical tape.
It was a lot of E-tape, a lot of wires, ski goggles, and a couple of LED screens.
Exactly.
Sort of fused into the frames. It was very, very prototypical at the time.
I've still got a picture of it on my phone. And they were showing off Doom 3 with the device, and I was amazed with it, and just I was completely blown away. I went back later that day. I went over to Daniel, former cast member here, who was at PAX at the same time, and I said, "Look, there's a thing for Hawken tonight. You need to come with me and get into that because they're going to have the Oculus Rift there. I don't know if they're going to have Hawken on it. They didn't. They just had Doom there, and you could look around." And I said, "You got to try this." So he did the same thing. Was impressed with it as well. So
now, see, this leads us to a couple of interesting topics of conversation. First off, I haven't followed it very, very closely. And regarding Carmack and his move over to Oculus, it's, Carmack is a perfectionist. So any critical statements he makes about something that he is interested in, you understand is coming from almost an entirely sanitized engineering code rendering mutant brain. It's all about the puzzle. He's like a less personable Mark Cerny or something. Like he's an interesting guy as the man he is. Not somebody I would necessarily want to sit down and talk to. Somebody I want to wind up. And yes, just like Matt in the chat room, one of the few people I want to give money to, lock him into a lab for 5 years and see what he does. Give him endless resources, wind him up, do whatever you want, and see what you can produce. He's that kind of guy. So to know that he's moved over to the Oculus team, it isn't about money. The man has funds, personal funds that stretch off into the distance in every direction, I'm sure. That isn't going to be the thing that entices him or interests him. It is either the fact that the technology has matured and that those guys have actually done the work to make the Oculus goggles something that he feels is worth his time, or he sees enough promise in it and believes that his influence can make it the thing it needs to be, or maybe some combination of those two things. But for a lot of us, just speaking kind of broadly about people who have not personally tried the tech, seeing that he has moved over and joined it is an enormous milestone for that particular thing. And let's be clear, in its at least early iterations, it's never going to be anything but, it is going to be a niche product. I shouldn't say won't be anything but it is a niche product. It is something that isn't going to be for everybody. At the moment, it is a very PC-centric device. It isn't the kind of thing you can expect to see packed in with your PS4 and your Xbox One in a year. 5 years? That's a different story. But at the moment, we're talking about possibly the first really viable product, first viable toy and interface for VR gaming that isn't cumbersome or foolish or has very, very poor performance. I mean, it looks like this thing is actually able to compete and be what it is. But for a lot of people, and keep in mind, when you come back from a convention, Scott, and you tell me that the thing that you played with is really fantastic, I don't necessarily believe you.
I know. My track record in that is real poor.
Because I know that whatever you're doing.
Hey, that Star Wars Kinect, that's a great,
I believe in the moment that you were playing with Star Wars Kinect at E3, you were having an incredible time. In that moment, in your life, everything that was happening for that 5-minute stretch of time was really fun for you because you enjoy it the way you enjoy spectacle and a show, and that's great.
Yeah.
And something happened, and those PR people in that booth just greased the journalistic part of your mind and just slipped right past it, and you had a good time, and it was fun. And we all know how that turned out.
A little bit of the reverse. Well, no, the actual
psychology
of couldn't see the forest for the trees.
But so when you come back and say, no, this thing is fantastic, it's like, I don't know. I don't know because Star Wars Connect. When anybody else tells me, they say, no, this is the future of the thing. It's like, okay, let me refer to my list of the future things that were going to change all the stuff forever. Let me look to all the things I've been told about before that were going to be absolutely fantastic, game-changing pieces of technology.
Right.
And let's look at how many of them actually did anything. So I'm very skeptical, have been very, very skeptical about the Oculus. So it doesn't matter how many supposed journalists, no matter how many people have told me, no, this is going to be the thing. It's, man, I'm tired. I need to know for myself.
Mm-hmm.
All I can really say is at this point, there has been not an overwhelming, but a significant amount of information that's come out now that the dev units have gone out, now that the first shipments of developer kits for the Oculus have gone out and people have been able to play with them and show some of their proofs of concept.
Yeah.
It's been slowly creeping up, past the BS threshold on my interest meter, and seeing Carmack move over to their team just has an instant effect. And I think it had an effect for a lot of people. To see that someone of that prominence, of that capability and skill is interested in a technology that we all really want to be the next big thing really, really does it for me. Now I'm very excited about it. Now I want to play that silly little game where you super jump and fly down a canyon of cityscapes.
Yeah, well, I mean...
tilting your head one way or the other. And I don't really want to play a first-person shooter on the Oculus Rift. I don't want to see every game I'm already aware of on the Oculus Rift.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see what happens for kind of exclusive content on a thing like this, things that are built for it.
Yeah.
Things that wouldn't necessarily make sense in any other...
Right.
On any other platform.
What would that be?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know.
I consume these things. I don't make them. That's other people's problems. You come up with the ideas. I'll tell you whether or not I think they're any good.
How do you think Mirror's Edge would do on this device?
Well, you know what? I don't think that's a terribly bad question because I don't remember what it was. I only saw the headline. I didn't get to read deeper, but there was somebody was doing a third-person cover shooter thing recently that they were testing on the Oculus Rift. And the article showed up in news feeds maybe 4 or 5 days ago, was about having to make sure that people were reminded, reinforce the idea that the cover that you're covering behind is not real. Don't try to lean on it. Don't reach out and try to touch and interact with the objects that you're seeing, because
there's nothing there.
The sensation is overwhelming.
Right.
I would have to imagine that the sensation of something like Mirror's Edge would be
wow.
And it would be a novelty. Don't get me wrong. I've watched the videos of people playing Minecraft with this thing, and I think it would be incredibly fun.
Or the guillotine simulator.
Right, but that's a different thing. That's something very, very specifically designed to stimulate you in a way that only the VR goggles can.
Yeah.
And this isn't something no one has failed to think of before. People have imagined VR goggles for as long as there's been science fiction, long since before there were video games. So to know that someone may have finally gotten it right at the consumer level, at an affordable hardware level, that can give you what it is you really need. Okay, I'm interested. There has been a sufficient amount of discussion about it, and I just haven't heard. There's not been any negativity about the product at all.
You're right, there hasn't.
And I don't know what to do in a world without negativity. It's my ballast, man. I don't know which way is up.
You have no way to judge
when everything is positive.
Yeah. So we don't know. There's no idea on price of what this will be when it releases to the public. That sort of situation. But what do you base your purchase on in that situation? Or do you? What gets you to buy this thing?
Oh, it's just like anything else. It's going to be software.
Yeah.
That's all.
Not the novelty of it, but the software combined.
Yeah, I don't earn a novelty paycheck.
Yeah.
I don't earn the kind of paycheck that allows me to buy novelty electronics. It's got to be something that I'm genuinely interested in. Cost, I don't know. I think there's a general sort of cost range for anything that plays video games and entertains your face, right? And that's going to be in the few $100 range, unless it's a TV, which is, a durable good that you do more than one thing on, and that can run up into depending on which side of this table you're sitting on,
right.
The cost is entirely different. But a couple few hundred, I don't know. I don't even remember the backer amounts, what it is they were asking for.
I can't remember either.
And I don't have them at hand, so I don't know. But I fully believe that they are on the path to making something that I would buy. You know what I want to do?
What?
Take it back. I want to play Flight Sim.
Of course.
That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
I just want to play Flight Sim because I remember having my Track IR, which was a little. You would like stick a little glow dot to the center of your head, and you put your IR tracker on your on top of your monitor or something, and you could, if you were flying in a virtual cockpit in a flight simulator or a space combat simulator, you could unlock your viewpoint and just kind of look around by sort of tilting your head, moving your head one way or the other. And it was really nice, but you couldn't go too far in either direction because then you would not be facing your monitor, and it was a little bit troublesome. This thing...
You get every angle that you want.
I could every angle.
Yeah.
I could absolutely every angle, and I would.
Matt says in the chat room that they said the same price as the dev kit, which was $300.
$300, that's fine.
Yeah.
That actually seems... That's below novelty. Below I guess clearly is a novelty because it's a toy technically, but regardless, that puts it in the realm of like believable and justifiable purchase, I think, for someone who's interested.
Yeah. What about you, RJ? Anything? I mean, you know about this obviously from us talking about it, but have you seen it? I haven't
seen it, but I think about it the same way as I would a console, like James said, software and what comes with it. I mean, just the unit by itself, I mean, what good is it without the software to play it with? And like I thought about with the PlayStation 4, if it doesn't have like 2 or 3 titles that hold my interest, I wouldn't have any interest in picking it up.
Yeah, I mean, I think of you, I think of fighting games, because you like that, and there's no way they can. I say that I can't say that because I could have said the same thing. There's no way they can do that, and then somebody will do it. But with with the fighting games that you typically play, you see
Right.
both characters on screen at the same time.
Right.
The free view of an Oculus probably wouldn't. I don't know what it could do for that situation, but in a first-person scenario,
Like Bushido Blade. Did you ever play Bushido Blade?
No, I heard of it. I never played it, but I saw screenshots and whatnot of it.
Did you ever
but
play
yeah.
Bushido Blade?
I don't think so.
It was no, you didn't, because you didn't have a PlayStation. You didn't have a PlayStation 1. That was this wonderful period of time when Squaresoft was Squaresoft, and being very, very experimental in the different types of games that they would craft and publish. And Bushido Blade was a fighting game, feudal Japan, and it was all about realistic sword combat.
Was this the one where you
any
could
particular
chop limbs and
Yeah.
things like that?
Yeah, but any particular battle could last. I mean, it was very much the typical Bushido Blade battle would be a pair of samurai.
Right.
It was very stance dependent,
Mm-hmm.
and a battle could last for one sword cross, just
Yeah.
like a real battle. You would get one solid input. You would have to guess exactly what the best way to counter what you imagined your opponent's plan to be.
Mm-hmm.
And one thwack of the sword, and that could be it. But I believe maybe it was the first one, maybe the second. I don't know. The Brain Trust might be able to weigh in on this. Had a first-person view
Okay.
where you could actually sit in first person and partake in the battle. And something like that would be really, really fantastic. Really, really engaging, I think, and exciting, and probably disturbing.
Yeah. I could see people flinching if that was the case.
Absolutely. I'm going to have to stay tied to a chair, I think.
Well,
playing
you
the Rift.
watch these videos of people having this complete this disorientation. This I'm lost at the word right now, but their balance is off.
Right, we have a real conflict because your inner
Yeah.
ear is telling you one thing, but your senses are telling you something. Your eyes are telling you something.
Yeah, which
else.
is interesting because when I tried this out at PAX, in fact, even when they were trying it publicly at the little gathering for Hawken later that night, they had it all positioned at a table, so people would have to go and sit down, and then it was just basically here, look left, look right. You didn't do any kind of fighting or moving or anything like that.
Right.
Somebody else kind of operated all that, but it was still Doom. You were still playing, I believe, Doom 3, and but for the most part, you were sitting down and you were looking and just looking around. Now they've gone miles ahead with this thing to do a lot more implementation for how it moves. Probably the response time is a lot quicker, that sort of thing. It's probably well advanced than what it was a year ago. And I didn't get disoriented with it. I just enjoyed the free view of every single angle that I could look at.
Do you remember? I don't know if you do. There was and this is kind of stretching slightly outside of gaming, but do you remember there was a project a number of years ago where somebody had done a recreation of the interior of the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris in the Unreal Engine. I can't even remember what it was called, but it was really, really interesting and fascinating. It was kind of a clever and fun thing that wasn't seen much. And this is looking years and years ago, and you could just play it like a first-person shooter because it was done in the Unreal Engine, but it was just this gorgeous recreation of Notre Dame. And again, it's not combat-oriented. It's not some weird gimmick. It's not flipping and spinning or anything like that, but I can't think of a more soothing and in certain ways more gratifying way to use technology like this than to have something that is that kind of recreation of an experience, just a browsing and touristy type of experience.
Very true.
Or there are a lot of applications, as there always have been in this idea, for telepresence and stuff like that. So it goes beyond just the immediate fun of what all kinds of strange stuff can you make it do. How quickly can I make myself vomit? Right? And what's the most uncomfortable gaming experience you can give somebody? I'm sure the guillotine game comes pretty high
that
on
one.
it, but
And then that guy that did it with the roller coaster simulation was also interesting. Anyway, we got to take a break. When we come back, we'll have more of In-Game Chat. We'll be right back. And welcome back to In-Game Chat, music from Halo. Before we went to the commercial break, you heard music from City of Heroes, which, starting on September 8th, I believe, a Kickstarter to sort of revive City of Heroes, or something very, very close to it, with a lot of fan involvement and that sort of thing, is going to be starting up, and I'll have details closer to when we get to that, probably when it launches, about what that is.
Whose Kickstarter is that?
I'll have to get back to you and let you know on that.
Okay.
That's why I said I'll have more details for you next time. It's just one of those things that hit me at the top of the head, while that music was playing earlier. I saved it in my phone because I'm like, when that starts up, I want to look into it and support it because I missed that place. So anyway, welcome back to the show. A couple of other things that we had happen this week was Microsoft. Again, it's almost every week that we come back and tell you that, hey, they're doing this now, where they said that they wouldn't. Because if you'll remember a couple episodes ago, we said that, and we knew there's still video proof of this with Mark Whitten and Game Informer saying that, no.
Refusing to confirm.
Refusing to confirm, which is usually, look, if it's there, say yes. Why would you not? Why would you say anything different?
If it was already planned to be there, the headset in the box, if it was planned to be there, he just would have said, of course, there's a headset in the box. Pfft. Right?
Yeah.
That's an easy one.
And he didn't. He just...
Well, technically he did, but it took him a couple of months.
Yeah.
And so now...
And now Major Nelson did an unboxing of the Xbox One and comes with a headset.
Hey, look, what did I find? Oh, what is this?
He didn't do it like that, but yeah.
Oh, hey, I'll just put this over here. What did I find in the box? Is that a headset? I'm not announcing that there's a headset in the box, but if you'll look, there was a headset in the box.
And specifically says that a headset comes with every day one and non-standard or something like that.
Every day one edition and standard edition.
And standard edition.
It's not just something specific to either one of the shipments, that they are getting it in absolutely every box, apparently.
Yeah.
I didn't see it. What does it look like? Is it kind of the same as the one that they had before? Is it like a single muff with a boom?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not like Sony's, which is essentially
not earbud. It's not an earbud with a mic on the end or on the line. But yeah, it's somewhat very, very similar to the one we have now.
Okay.
Complete with, they streamlined this in later headsets for the 360,
which I hated.
The connection to the controller, they streamlined it as just a plug-in and gave you on the line, closer to the top of the headset, a mute and
a volume switch.
That may still be the case. They may have it double there, but I know that specifically the connection to the controller is the big fat thing, where you got a mute button and a volume up and a volume down.
I liked that very much because it gave you. I reckon you've seen it, RJ, what it is. I liked that little piece of control because that's where your thumbs already are, and you can just, without even looking down, you can feel the module with your thumb, and you can adjust volume, you can mute. It was much, much nicer. I really, really liked it.
It's our logo.
Yeah, I understand why they got rid of it, because they quit doing that when they added the chat pad.
Yeah.
To the 360 controller.
That's
that
true.
wasn't compatible with the form factor of the chat pad.
Yeah, which is sad because the chat pad was great. The chat pad was a wonderful thing to have, with all the basically a lot of typing messages and filling out a bio on your profile and stuff like that. That you can actually go through and do it through the website, but having it right there when you wanted to name something or when you had to put in messages on the fly of between games and stuff like that. It was nice to have. So anyway, that's a change that we're getting. Another thing that was revealed, and there's a graphic in the notes there if you want to look at it, James, was the features that you would get with a gold subscription with the Xbox One. So essentially the gold features are everything that they...
Unrivaled multiplayer gaming.
Well, yeah.
It's unrivaled.
We knew that. We know multiplayer behind a paywall. We're getting that.
I didn't know it was unrivaled.
Well, okay. You want to use their...
I didn't know it would continue to be.
And it has an asterisk by the end, so it's like...
Not really. Possibly rivaled.
Right. according to all of our testers. Unrivaled multiplayer gaming, premium entertainment apps. We knew that. Netflix, things like that. All of the apps that you get.
Same as it was, as per Mark Whitten's previous interview with GI, where he said,
"You can expect gold to work."
Whatever you think about gold right now, go ahead and think that about the.
We're
Xbox
serious.
Gold.
That is almost word for word what he said.
Right.
James is not being his typical James self. That is seriously what.
What is it that you think about gold right now? That's pretty much what gold will be.
Mm-hmm.
Which, overpriced, undervalued.
And pretty much everything you can do on Sony's console without having to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's all that. The NFL streaming that they're going to have is behind a gold thing. That seems to fall into the apps, the entertainment apps, stuff like that. Internet Explorer on your TV is gold. Okay, not something I'd really ever consider paying for, but sure. Exclusive deals and special offers, that's something else.
I would like to think that if I'm paying for a service, I can not have your exclusive deals and special offers because I know what that means.
Advertising.
Yes.
Yeah. Part of that is advertising.
I've lived with a couponer before.
Yeah, and
I know what special offers are.
Yeah, and part of that, of course, is, well, I forget that's probably the games for gold situation may not be extended past November, because right now you get 2 free games a month with your gold subscription for the 360. I don't know that that's going to extend into the Xbox One era come November. That is unspecified.
I thought they hadn't said anything about that. They've been very
haven't.
Specifically mum on that subject whenever asked.
Which is why I say that may or may not happen.
I suppose it's maybe fair to them to I don't know. That's just a poor choice of words. Exclusive deals and special offers really does sound too much like advertising, coupons, discounts.
Yeah, it doesn't,
of the sort that I'm not interested in.
Yeah, it doesn't ring true of the PS Plus situation.
Right. What do you get with PS Plus? Free games.
Lots of them.
And that's basically how it's advertised. Free games and some discounts.
Not
Free
2
games.
a month.
No.
I mean, you're a PS Plus member. Yeah, you know.
That wouldn't make any sense if he wasn't.
Yeah.
Free games, cloud saves. Free games, this other stuff. Free games, discounts on other games. Like that's, they very much lead with that catalog. At least they do now. So, exclusive deals and special offers leaves a little bit too much room for unspecified things. But I'm not gonna. Okay, whatever. Can't really condemn them for that, but can't really say that it means anything either.
Yeah. So there's that. Let's see the Skype, which seems again like a premium entertainment app. For the Xbox One.
Which actually doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. It's not a premium app on the PC.
I know.
Well, I mean, neither is any of the rest of the garbage that they have hidden behind their paywall. But they own it. It's an excellent advertising and kind of data mining service for them, right? It is completely 100% theirs. I would think that they would want people using it all the time under any circumstances, but what am I even doing? I'm using the same argument we've used for years about why they should let more of their services free of the paywall, why they should allow more people to use things for free.
Yeah.
So I should stop.
Smart match system, which they detailed this week, and
What is that?
I didn't even have enough interest to look at it. It's just how they match you up with other players for gaming and stuff like that. How the matchmaking system works for some.
I don't understand why they would.
I don't know.
I don't understand. If multiplayer gaming
I could be
is
wrong.
hidden behind gold paywall, why go to a point of saying how we match you in multiplayer gaming is also behind the paywall? I would think, yeah, right? I would think that they basically go hand in hand. I don't know what it is. Forget about it.
I don't either.
I don't know what I'm talking about. There's really only 2 things on there that I think are extraordinarily interesting.
We'll start with the lesser of that, the game DVR.
Yeah.
Being behind a gold paywall. So
right, and we're talking about the ability to save those several minutes, 5 minutes chunks, or the previous 30-second clips or something, whatever the final details are.
Right.
That information, the ability to save that sort of stuff, is going to be behind the paywall.
And then obviously, I guess in that sense, your upload and sharing that would be behind. Your sharing features would be behind a paywall for that as well.
Now, I can understand this a little bit. Because you are on their system, in their way, putting all of this on Microsoft's servers out in their cloud.
Mm-hmm.
You are putting it onto their infrastructure. So it does seem to me in isolation, looked at just as the Xbox One and what it is offering, not in comparison to the PS4. But on its own, it does look like a premium piece of service.
And then finally, this one is the strangest one, and this was actually the whole point of talking about this right now, is that their one guide is what they're calling it, which is basically their guide overlay, their TV guide overlay that was the flagship feature.
The Xbox TV?
Yeah. This was their thing.
The Yusuf Mehdi television extravaganza?
Their reason for existing, you would think, almost, is like TV and Xbox One
Right.
thing. You don't need multiple, you need one, and Xbox One, and it will do your TV, and you'll get this thing if you pay us $60 a year. It's all behind a gold subscriber paywall. You've got to pay $60 a year, whatever the monthly cost is, to use the TV.
All right,
overlay.
let's recap here a little bit, right? Let's look back at the fine details of what this thing actually is. This system does not have time-shifted television content, right? This is not a DVR. This is not a TiVo. This is not a cable box.
Right.
The Xbox One, as we know it, is a gaming machine, perfectly fine. It's absolutely competent. Let's not rehash that. But the other half of what the Xbox One is an entertainment and television delivery platform. They were very, very clear about that. TV, TV, TV. However much they might let off the gas advertising about TV. Okay?
Yeah, I know.
And try to talk more about gaming. One whole whack of the system is all about that. And it is the thing they most led with. Forget about the DRM. Forget about the specs and how much RAM is being allocated to anything. Forget about all of that. Just think for a moment about what the system, what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And fully half of it is meant to deliver entertainment content. Fine. We're accustomed to the entertainment apps being relegated to gold service.
Yeah.
It's not good, but we are accustomed to it. But if one major function of your system, and the only thing that system really does, because we still are not talking about it, is act as a channel-changing overlay with a guide. That's all it does. The thing is using an IR blaster, right?
Mm-hmm.
It isn't using advanced technology. It isn't using some of the more up-to-date capabilities of HDMI to control other slave HDMI devices. It is merely acting out simple commands as a channel overlay that can change channels on your television. That's all it's doing. And that thing, that simple thing that is at the heart of the entertainment half of this console requires gold.
Requires gold, yeah.
Are you...
Pause for a moment of silence. I know, I understand.
So why, if I don't want to pay for gold, and don't get me wrong, I would never have an Xbox without paying for gold. I don't think. But why? So if I don't pay for gold, I should just never say Xbox TV. Why do I have a Kinect?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense to me. That thing being hidden behind gold makes no sense to me whatsoever. Are we sure there isn't some more basic, rudimentary, like stupid version of that?
That's what I'm
thing?
thinking, because it has a name, the One Guide.
Yeah,
I'm
but
thinking
everything
maybe
they
it's
do has a name.
I know.
It's
I
how
understand.
they convince themselves that what they're doing matters by naming it.
But the absurdity of it makes me think that there's obviously poor man's guide, or whatever the case, something for you silver scum people who aren't paying this price. Here's this really horrible looking overlay, and it only gives you 5 channels or something like that. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have the details on that. I agree with you, though, that it seems, if that is if that's the direction you're going in, if that's what you've pushed to the forefront of every thing that you've talked about for this machine and the system and what it can do, you would think that, okay, then if I don't pay for gold, then what's the point of me owning your system? And I understand that that's something that they're trying to do, is like, when you buy our system, please, you have to also give us this much more every year. to really utilize what it has to offer. I understand that's kind of the hook of what
Yeah,
they're trying to do.
we're not completely stupid. I know that they're trying. I know that they're not. This is not a charity. I know they're trying to get me to buy into gold, and they're trying to just see. We talked about this a long time ago, and it's interesting because everybody, I think, understood this is how it was going to be. A lot of the, a lot of the righteous indignation from looking back now, maybe about a year ago, and this has been going on for a while before the current narrative of the Xbox One revolved around DRM and about how their system had been divided into bifurcated kind of into an entertainment system and a gaming system before we got whipped up into a lather about specs and all this stuff. Not that we haven't ever cared about it, but back when it was all nebulous and still very theoretical, one of the chief complaint about the Xbox 360 was the fact that everything was creeping behind the paywall. Everything was. And that the expectation was that there wasn't going to be any Xbox experience left to the person who didn't want to pay for gold. And this was at a time when fewer and fewer games worth the time and the money were showing up and making us willing to shell out that money. There were a lot of people who just said, I'm not interested anymore. Okay, the final Halo has come out. I've done my playing. I'm finished. No more gold for me. Or, I've wrapped up whatever multiplayer thing that I was ever interested in over here.
Yeah.
I'm just no longer into it. And everybody said that the gold model, particularly since Sony was doing what they were doing, this gold model of everything being behind the paywall it had to go. They need to drop it. They just absolutely had to drop it. They got to get away with it. They can't get away with it forever. There was never any chance they were going to drop it. It's too much money. Mm-hmm. It's just too much. Whether it's justified for the expense of hosting servers or whatever tech they have to put in place to do matchmaking, it doesn't really matter. It seems that whatever else they've done, all of the PR trouble they've had with DRM, all of the issues they've had with headsets and entertainment and poor delivery, and poor communication, they've been working overtime to justify that expense that they never planned to drop, to find ways to convince us that we were never, ever going to let go of you, and we were never, ever going to stop hounding you to be a part of Xbox Live Gold. But what we will do is continue to find reasons that the Xbox experience can't really be had without it.
Yeah.
And so they are never letting go of it. It was a revenue stream that was it was too wide and too deep.
It just surprises me that they're gonna charge for the guide for essentially something that it seems like it was a default action of the box. You didn't need a gold subscription or anything like that. You buy the box. This is default. This is what it does. This is a thing that is inherent in it. It requires no activation. This is what it does.
Right.
Puts an overlay and does the TV thing. That's what it seemed like. And now we discover that some form of that, if not all of it, is locked behind a subscription.
It actually is one of the things I'm still most interested in hearing the details about, because I believe in refusing to talk about it, in a granular kind of really, really detailed way, they're letting people kind of cast a glow around it. They're letting it have a mystique, like it actually is something complicated and neat and swift and fast and intelligent. And I really don't think it is. I think it's probably a simple program that you tell it who your cable provider is, where you live, what your zip code is, and the same things that any other DVR will do when it's setting up a channel overlay for you. That's all it needs to know. And then it can query that information from your cable or satellite provider. It doesn't need to do anything through Microsoft. Microsoft's Azure network need not be bothered in the least for their system to figure out, what time Duck Dynasty's coming on. It's unnecessary. So it seems incredibly cynical for them to do this. And I know that Sony has sequestered some of their surfaces behind paywalls as well, but at least there seems to make sense. It seems to me that they're coming at me with a bargain, with an idea, with a sales pitch.
Yeah.
And not all sales pitches are evil, but they're coming at me saying, look, we're going to keep up what we're keeping on with regarding PS Plus. You got to pay a little bit more. You've got to do this if you want to be doing this multiplayer stuff. All of this other stuff that you have a sense should be a part of the base package is part of the base package. This one thing, we're putting behind a paywall. And, everybody was just willing to go in on that bargain. And it's worth pointing out that their game DVR, their streaming ability is not behind their paywall.
Right. When this broke, of course, everybody else was hitting up Sony saying, okay, what you got behind your paywall?
Right.
What is it? And they said, no, our game DVR, our apps, they don't require PS Plus.
Mm-hmm.
Just the multiplayer aspect or anything else they haven't announced, I have no idea. But as compared to what the Xbox One is, the game DVR part of it and the apps, like Netflix and everything else and whatever else they provide, you don't need PS Plus to use those. You don't need to pay.
Let's keep in mind, of course, that they put that share button directly on their controller.
They did.
It would have been foolish for them to put it behind the paywall.
Yeah.
Absolutely 100% foolish for them to do that. To have a physical button on your controller that is a bone of contention in itself for a lot of people. Because a lot of people don't want to be subjected to the notion that they should be sharing things on every social network. But you're going to put a physical button on the controller that doesn't work unless I pay money?
Right.
Yeah, that would rub people certainly the wrong way. So whether they ever intended to or not, they don't. It's obviously a good decision.
Yeah, and this kind of shed some light on their home gold situation that they announced either late yesterday or even sometime this morning.
Back to Microsoft now.
Back to Microsoft. Their home gold. How the gold subscription will work for families and that sort of thing. And we'll talk more about that when we come back with the second hour of In-Game Chat. We will be right back. And welcome back to In-Game Chat, the second hour of the show. Last hour we were talking about the gold features and everything that was hidden. Well, I say hidden. It's pretty much right there. Everything that's behind a gold subscribers fee on the Xbox One. And RJ had an interesting, not necessarily a question, just kind of a statement after we went to commercial. There was that what essentially is
what's the point of having
having Xbox Live without gold, or Xbox without having a gold subscription? And you're right, it's pretty much I say even bare bones, but I mean it can play games, that's it, but it can't play multiplayer games, that sort of thing. You can't play multiplayer with it. So Game Machine, it turns into its basic self. It's
like a $500 paperweight.
Its basic self, I believe, requires Xbox Live. It would be interesting to hear from. I would take a message or direct communication with anybody who's still working in retail, in games retail right now, because I've said several times I actually had to do a stint when I was between hirings at my current job several years ago, 4 or 5 years ago now, and had to go work at GameStop briefly, and it was challenging for me to try to give a lot of detail about particularly the Xbox 360 when they started releasing several different SKUs, and you would talk to people about the difference between this one has a hard drive, this does not have a hard drive. This one's got just enough internal storage to save a few games, but you can't go online or do anything significant with it in that way. This one has this kind of feature, and this one has this. And you really want like Xbox Live Gold if you want to go online and get these things. And it was, by comparison to the Xbox One, not very complicated at all. There were just a couple of differences, a couple of options that set it apart. And there were an enormous number of people who aren't at all like us. Most people are nothing like us. Most customers, even most people who want to buy one of these, have very little in common with those of us who follow the news, who pay attention to the detail, and who are interested, at least somewhat, in why these machines are the way they are, why this industry works the way it does. And so explaining to them something as simple as, this is the one you want if you're going to shove it in your 6-year-old's playroom, right? So they can play one of the funny little arcade discs that comes packed in with the arcade version of it. And don't ever worry about it, forget about it. This is the one you want, $200, thank you very much. But if it got more complicated than that, then it became a little bit of a hassle and a little bit of a challenge to try to explain to people why it was different. When by comparison, the PS3 was like, no, it's just a PS3. This one's got a bigger hard drive than this one, but it's PS3.
Yeah.
And all the online stuff is free, and there you go. It was just a much easier proposition for them to handle. I would be very interested in what your clerks and your salespeople.
What kind of questions you're getting?
Those people, not just what kind of questions they're getting, because again, we're still in the pre-order state right now, but what it's like to try to explain to those normal people. And trust me, if they work in retail, they know the kind of person I'm talking about. The mothers and the casual buyers who just don't, mothers and fathers. I don't want to be weirdly sexist about that, but you know what I'm saying? Like just your typical, your normal parents who don't have a lot of information about it. I would really have no interest whatsoever in trying to explain to them why the system is what it is now. What makes it different? To a lot of us, it doesn't even seem that different at its core from what we know now. But trying to convert everything we've been told by Microsoft to reality and then reconvert that to the unreality a normal consumer is concerned with is weird. Really, really weird.
Well, now they get to explain how the gold situation is going to work for the gold subscription situation is going to work for families and that sort of thing, multiple accounts, that kind of thing. Originally, we had the family gold plan. Did you ever take part in that?
No.
I don't think you did.
No,
just one of those things where you could buy. It was a discounted price to having 4 gold subscriptions, I think. A discounted price, so you could have everybody in the family could all have their own gamer tag and be on like that one single gold account type of situation. I never got into it, so I'm not exactly sure how that situation worked. But the Xbox One will have something called Home Gold. It allows for an unlimited number of people to take advantage of the gold level features of the machine. It can be used when the main account holder isn't logged in or even home. And this goes for digital game downloads as well. Somebody downloads, if you download a game from Xbox Live or however they're going to call that the marketplace, you download a game from there on your system, then everybody else who has an account on that system can play those games. It is exclusive only to the Xbox One. This is not something they will bring to the Xbox 360. And that's the only way it'll work. Essentially what it does is the gold subscription is not tied to a gamer tag anymore. It's tied to a box. It's tied to the system itself. When you make that the home machine, I think you probably have to designate it that this is the home machine. So all these accounts get to use all these gold features.
Yeah, I think that was actually one of the leading theories that people were speculating about weeks and weeks ago before everything changed, before the family sharing stuff changed, and we were still trying to understand with minimal information what the system would actually be, how it would actually work. And it made really no sense that they were looking to move into a world like this having discontinued the old family gold.
Mm-hmm.
It made no sense for them to not offer some kind of family thing. This seems pretty flexible and decent. Seems really, really good. I guess it's some kind of concession to get people to agree to pay the money they're asking for.
Yeah. But it's going to be a lot different than the way it works now, which is everybody needs to have their own gold subscription. Otherwise, they're playing on your gamer tag and earning your achievements and spending your points. And, well, now it's money. They've converted that over. But still, everybody had to have their own gamer tag. Kind of works that way, I guess, on the PS3.
I'm not really sure. I mean,
I've got my own PS3 too, so I mean, I kind of look at you with that question.
You can share. I mean, you can share accounts on there, but
yeah,
put them on different. Have your account on different systems and whatnot. But I'm not aware.
But
of
the
any
PS Plus
family
membership is tied to that name, to that player, to that
name.
Yeah, exactly.
My name could be on another system, but it's to that name, name only.
So. Anyway, so that's how the home gold situation will work. So that ties up our Xbox talk for the week, basically. For the week, because during next week something will happen, and look at, I don't know.
I actually am ready for it to stop happening.
I am too.
There's really not much else they can reverse policy on. They've come close now. It's taken them forever, but they've come close to clarity on most of what they intend for the system to do and to be. And it's a weirdly quiet time. It's August, and I don't care what's happening in gaming news. August is slow. Yeah. Always slow.
End of August picks up, and then, of course, September is when you start to, come down the other side of that hill.
Right. Well, and we've got Gamescom in another 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And PAX immediately after.
Yeah.
So by the time we get to the end of the month, we ought to know the last of the few major answers we've been looking for, and then we wait.
Yeah,
we wait and we see, and cross our fingers for no trouble on launch day for any of the early adopters.
Here's hoping. So, and you're still sticking with getting the PS4.
Yes.
And you're still sticking with getting the PS4 at some point, not launch, or what?
Some point.
Okay, you're at some point. I'm at launch on both systems. And considering current situations in my life, I don't know how that's going to happen, but we'll figure that out. So yeah, looking forward to that and seeing how all of that goes. But anyway, enough of that talk. On to some game talk. Let's talk about games and stuff. You want to hit up Dark Souls, or
I
asked RJ about something else?
I want to hear about Dragon's Crown.
Dragon's Crown.
You got it?
Yeah.
When did that come out? Did that come out Tuesday?
6th.
This past Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't been following it terribly closely.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm, I got to be honest, I'm truly offended by the art. I'm deeply and personally wounded.
For a minute there, I didn't know what you were talking about. And when you said that, I thought, now I know what game he's talking about.
Yeah, no,
mm-hmm.
I'm really not at all. I couldn't really care less. But that has worked its way into every conversation about the game that I can think of.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of interested in it, but I was really torn because it doesn't look like a system that I can tell exactly where, or a game rather. I can't quite tell where it wants to belong. It looks like it's not 100% at home on either the PS3 or the Vita.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's got aspects of it that make it want to be at home in either place. You don't have a Vita.
I don't have a Vita, no.
So you're playing it on the PS3.
I'm playing on the PS3. But the way it's set up, you can play it. I don't know if it's co-op on each system. I'm not sure about that either. I don't know how that would work, to be honest with you. But the from what I'm told, the memory for each one can be on either way, the Vita or the PS3. Swap and save the memory for each one.
Yeah, I understand that the saves can be taken from one to the other, but it's not cross-buy.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want both of them, you have to pay, what is this, $40 for the Vita version and $50 for the
50
PS3?
for the PS3
$90? Come on.
And as far as I know, if you buy the PS Vita version, that does not come with cross-buy to the PlayStation 3 version.
No, that's what I said.
Yeah,
there is no
yeah.
there is no cross-buy for it. So if you
I
want
see what you're saying, yeah.
you want to
both?
take advantage of how awesome it is to be able to trade your saves from one platform
Mhm.
to another, you have to pony up $90.
I was thinking in reference that when they do have cross-buy, it's only affected by
Oh, I
the
understand.
higher priced
Sure.
item.
I understand.
So, yeah. But anyway.
But in this case, no. So $90, that's right out.
Mhm.
And that's a bit I don't know. That's a bit unfortunate. I guess I can't tell them what to do with it. And there are certain people that just really don't want it on one or the other platform. But I don't know. It looked like the kind of thing that I would very much enjoy on my Vita, but I understand that it performs a lot better on the PS3.
Well, I mean, you have the option of, I'm not sure about how it is in the Vita, but you do have the option of installing the data, like a lot of games, on your PS3, so that probably gives it better performance
Okay.
overall. So,
Does
as
it
soon as you
perform
do
well
that,
enough for you?
It'd be fine for me. I mean, I heard issues of slowdown in some areas, but I haven't seen a lot of that yet.
I've heard it's a lot worse on the Vita for
Yeah.
obvious reasons.
Not as much power to perform, if that's the
Right.
case. Yeah.
So are you playing by yourself?
I've played solo for the most part, but I've recently played a four player co-op local at the tavern I go to every weekend or so. But that was a pretty good experience having everybody co-op
Couch
work together
co-op.
on that. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
But you haven't done any of the online co-op yet.
Not online yet. No.
Is that
first of
opened
all-
up? Is that opened up immediately?
No. You
Okay,
have to earn,
that
you have
had
to
it-
earn the-
yeah,
you have
see,
to
I
earn your
wasn't
right
sure
to do
about that.
You have to earn your right to do that. First, you
Somebody
have
had
to go-
said that. I read that somewhere, and I couldn't really
Yeah, it's something-
believe that
it's
you actually had to
something-
play
yeah.
through before you could co-op.
It's something I've never experienced before, but yes, you have to unlock every region in the game before you open an area called the stables, and in the stables is where you do your online co-op and game setup.
Okay.
Yeah, but you have to unlock everything before you do so. And
Right.
that's very rare to me. I've never seen that before, but that's what you got to do. You got to struggle through the game or learn the stuff or gather up some skills and whatnot. You're not going to go online first day.
Okay.
Mhm.
What kind of character are you playing?
I'm using the elf.
The elf. Oh, is elf like archer, ranger?
Elf is the archer,
type?
ranger,
What
pit.
is there? There's a fighter,
Yeah,
right? There's
well, I put them in like three categories. You got brawlers, magicians, and distance guys. That's
Range
just my
fighters?
opinion. Yeah,
Okay.
range fighters. Yeah, but it's a fighter, Amazon, sorceress, wizard, elf, and dwarf.
okay.
And they're all brawlers are the ones who like up close and personal,
Right.
fisticuffs and whatnot. Two magicians, the wizard and the sorceress, and range fighters and the elf and the dwarf. The elf just picks up whatever and throws it
Okay.
at someone, yeah. And the elf, what I'm using is the archer of the group.
Okay. How do you feel about it? How do you rate it in your first week of play?
I'm having fun with it.
Because it
That's,
looks like a solid action, fast-paced, fairly energetic
Yeah,
brawler, but
Yeah.
it's got an awful lot of RPG mechanic in
yeah.
it.
Side-scrolling 2D, 3D art, Final Fight type, me against the world type fighter. With those elements, like you say about it. You do a lot of grinding, level up your abilities, level up spells.
Is it like
techniques.
significantly gear-oriented?
Gear you can just get after every stage you go through.
Uh-huh.
But in terms of skills and whatnot, you just build up points and everything to apply
Right.
towards
So
your
this is
character.
it's a more skill-dependent game in terms of building your character, or is there a
Skill.
nice?
I would say skills. 'Cause
much
a
more
lot of
skill-dependent?
Skills are a lot more important than the items that you use.
I would say character skill as
Mhm.
opposed
Character
to
skills.
just player
You got
skill.
character specific and common skills just for your character type, and then you got common for everybody.
Okay.
So those are the ones you want to level up more than anything
Right.
first in that game. But in terms of how I'm feeling about it, I'm having a lot of fun with it. I mean, it can be a little repetitive
Mhm.
because in order to build up any character in any game, you're going to have to do some repetitive grinding.
Yes.
And so you got 9 areas to go through, so you're going to have to do it in those areas. But story-wise, it's kind of like the format. You remember Ghouls and Ghosts, Ghosts and
Yes,
Goblins?
absolutely.
How you get to the end, and then it tells you have to go back and get the goddess's amulet to go through again before you can beat the final boss. The same thing applies here. You open up the first 9 areas, you go through the first 9 areas, you get there, and then it tells you have to find like 9 talismans, 9 stages, not go through 9 stages again. But this time you have to go through Route B, which is a second playthrough with different elements added in, like a different boss or
Okay.
the elements are different. The bosses level up. Like for instance, stage 1, the boss is level 1. You can take it out easy. But when you go through again, the boss is like level 17 if you choose to go through the first route. But the second route, Route B, is where the Talisman's at. So you go through that one with the boss with level 28.
Okay.
So in that case,
So what's a just as an example, what is a one-time playthrough to beat the first 9 areas and to start a second run through? How long is a first run?
well, let's see. For me, it was 7 to 8 hours because I was doing the main story element, and I was also doing quests that I got from the Adventures Guild to build more experience to get more points to build up the character as well.
That's more than I would have thought from something that kind of requires you to go back through the game again. Makes it seem a lot less like padding. If one time through is what we would consider significant enough game length for the price, if it were any other genre. So it's a pretty game. It really makes me want to play it. It looks a little too busy for me, though. Like, I really do want to play it co-op.
Yeah, there are some times where what's one thing that really got me was there are times when there's so much chaos going on the screen, you can't even tell where you are. I mean, you got goblins and orcs and monsters and your partners throwing magic and fire all over the place. And then sometimes, numerous times, in fact, I was in the middle of something. I couldn't tell where I was. And by the time I realized where I was too late, got damaged or killed or anything like that nature. But I think there's a setting in there where it displays your health bar on the bottom of your character at all times. I think I'm just turning that on really helps because when it's off, default setting is off. So when it's off, you have a really hard time telling where you're at in some areas because, like I say, the art's pretty, everything's real nice, and you can get lost in the colors, so to speak, and not realize where you're at.
That's absolutely what it seemed like. But it seemed really nice. I don't know. It seems like one of a really strong handful of things. Just one more thing here in the last months of the PlayStation 3's. I'd say in the last months of the PlayStation 3's life. For many people, the PlayStation 3 is nowhere near the end of its life. But,
Exactly.
But here before the spotlight shifts a little more, well, almost entirely to the PS4, it seems like they have an incredibly, just a really incredible library of stuff, or they're adding to it incredibly in the last few months. So just looked like one of those things that would have been really nice to sit down with. I'm not going to be able to do it, and I'm not going to pretend that I'm going to take the time.
Yeah.
I've got too much else to do, but it's lush.
Yeah.
Luscious, very pretty. It's nice to see that team making something HD for a change, because they did, what did they do? They did
Odin
Sphere.
I keep hearing that name of that game. I
They
never
did
played
Odin
it,
Sphere,
but I heard about it. Yeah. But, that's something they keep referencing to. But yeah, very nice art. Animation style is I've never seen it's still shots, and they just subtly move the pieces in a smooth way that
it's very fluid.
Yeah,
it's very
that's what I'm looking for.
Oil painting. I don't know. I don't know if you've looked at it at all.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It really did look like something that would be a lot of fun. And I am not often inspired to play couch co-op. I've enjoyed that in the past. I liked it very much. That's not exactly how I like my co-op anymore. It's rare that that's what I want to do. Sometimes I do, but it's a very specific game that makes me feel that way. And this game did. I've very much wanted you to buy it so that I could come over and play it.
You mean GameFly it is what you mean.
I don't care. I want you to have it so that I can play it.
Yeah, I'd say it's definitely worth the try. Definitely is worth the try.
I suppose there's nothing against the GameFly of it.
Yeah. So put that on the list. I could hook the PS3 up to the streamer.
Yes.
And of course we'd have to sit in the really small room back there and do
Yes.
couch co-op, but we do it anyway. So
Still technically a couch.
yeah, kind of. Anyway, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll have more of In-Game Chat coming up next. And welcome back to In-Game Chat. Final segment of the show. Still talking about games. What were you guys talking about a minute ago?
Nabokov had asked me if I had gotten around to playing
Oh, that's right.
Kentucky Route Zero, and I told him I feel very bad, but that is something that I got right at the end of the Steam sale, and I forgot to. It seems very strange. I forgot to install it, as is often the case for anybody that doesn't know about how Steam works, or anybody that doesn't use Steam. After a while, your library, you go in there, and there's a list of all the games that you own on Steam, and you can view the library in any number of ways. You can sort it by any number of things, and then after a while, the library gets really, really big. Yeah. Really big.
I mean, I got friends who's got around 100, 200, 300.
I think I've got a couple hundred things, which means that I can't really view my library just having all my games. So what I do is I go through and look at it and say, okay, what am I playing right now? If it's, say, a multiplayer game or a single-player game I'm working through, that's obviously going to be installed currently. And then I look at the things that I say I want to play maybe sometime in the next month. These are the things that are on my immediate list. And I make sure that those are installed and that anything else is uninstalled. And so I sort my list by installed games. And that's all I look at. And so I had forgotten to install it. And it's not a very big game, so that wouldn't have been a problem. But I'd completely forgotten. And you mentioned...
Yeah, I mentioned wanted to give a shot give a shot at playing Gunpoint.
Yeah, I certainly wish you would. That's a really fun game, and it's not a big bite and it's not a small bite. It's a handful of hours. You can beat it in a couple.
Yeah.
But I don't really understand why you would. It's a much more fun game if you play it to the fullest, which I think is maybe about 5 hours. If you absolutely try to do it the best way you possibly can.
Right.
Play it to perfection is maybe 5 or 6 hours. And is really, really excellent game. Really fun game. One of those things that's right at $10. It's sitting there at the $10 price point, just like Papers, Please, that we mentioned. And it's, look, these are games. These are brand new games. These aren't old games at a discount. This isn't a trigger point for purchasing something that's old and you've been waiting on for a while. These are new games, auteur projects, or small indie teams. These are guys that are giving you something fresh and new, and in most cases are trying in some respect to kind of push the boundaries and usher you at least slightly outside of your comfort zone. And it doesn't cost much to go outside of your comfort zone. The risk reward is entirely in your favor. Most of these things can run on any kind of computer. So it's awfully nice to see something like that and just think, whatever, $10. Yeah. That's lunch.
Mine was like, I bought it on sale during the Steam sale, the summer sale. So it was like $6.45 or, $6.50 or something. I don't remember what the discount was, but I still picked up Gunpoint. And again, it's one of those things that I bought in bulk. It was one of those things, wait until the end of the day, buy them all, boom, got it.
Right.
I got to go to work, or I got to do this, or I got to do that, whatever, and completely forgot.
And it's easy to forget. And you don't put it, and you don't put it in your list.
I know.
So
that's there, and along with a couple of other things, though, I started. I started up.
You finished The Witcher.
I finished The Witcher.
The first Witcher.
Talked about that last week with Jeremy. I'd finished the first Witcher, and I started up Witcher 2 today, and I started up Dark Souls today. I want to kind of go through those, and then we're going to do some videos with them and stuff.
I would very much appreciate it if you would just leave Witcher 2 for a moment.
I will.
I'm not telling you what to do. But what you should do is not play The Witcher 2. I really want you to play Dark Souls. I'm going to do to you what everybody's done to me, and I hope that you don't do to me what I did to them. I want you to play Dark Souls, and I want you to actually do it. Don't tell me you're going to do it and then not do it, which is what I did to them.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah. No,
After everything that's been said about it, I still find it to be very poorly represented, and I don't even blame anyone for representing it so poorly, because not to say that it is bad. Nobody has ever told me that it is bad. It's just I am convinced that there is something very weird and indeterminate about the game that makes it impossible to describe. I don't even think that you can look at video or screenshots and get the correct sense of what the game actually is. It's fascinating to me. It's a fantastic game. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that there is a story, but everything about how the story is related to you as a player is completely unlike everything else that's being made.
Mm-hmm.
And we're accustomed to relating things to one another, talking about, like, here's the cast of characters and this event happens and there's this other thing, when so much of it is, there's a world, it works like this, it will be about how you win the day, fight your way through it. That's what it's about. It's about the feeling. And I know people can even say that, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It will not actually leave the impression it's meant to leave until you actually just sit down and grit your teeth and play it. And you find that, indeed, it is hard, but not hard. It's cruel, but not cruel.
Not impossible.
Right, but even in the ways that it's hard, it's not. I will say that the idea that it is not unfair isn't quite there. I think it is slightly unfair in some places, but certainly less, to a great degree less than most other games are. Most other games are obtusely unfair. You know, you reach a point and it is very clear the game says, this is the part where we're going to be unfair to you now because we didn't know how to do a better job at creating a game. So now is the point where it becomes unfair. This game just has a little bit of RNG, you know, randomness to the encounters that doesn't work out in your favor. And if you suck bad enough at any particular encounter and keep going back at it, eventually the horrible randomness will be in your favor and you'll win. It'll be okay. But for the most part, you can beat the game. And isn't that weird that it feels that way? You didn't just mash a button and get through a sequence. You didn't just, you know, swing a sword enough times to make something happen. When I do something, I feel like I beat it. I don't feel like I'm better than anyone else because everyone else can beat it too. It's enabling and it's empowering. I don't find it to be the kind of game that would say, nah, you got to be really good at games to do this. I don't even feel that. I feel like it's all of that hardness and all of that difficulty was misrepresented. I think that the game itself is very uplifting. That's a really weird word to use to describe Dark Souls because it's a horrible place. But the game itself is empowering and uplifting because it is just what you need. You know, it's just enough to make you feel that, no, you did this. It's a relatively simple set of inputs and controls, a relatively understandable, easy to grasp set of variables, right? Enemies do certain things and certain enemies will always do the things they do. And you just have to figure out how to deal with it. Here's your tools. Here's the problem. Solve the problem. And it is completely solvable. And it feels good to solve a problem in the way that we're all familiar with. It feels good like it felt, you know, I don't know, this is the first time you understood the quadratic equation or something in high school, you know? The first time you understood a problem that you previously thought you couldn't deal with. And it really isn't that bad. So.
Well, I hope to experience that. So far, I'm not very far into the thing.
You're still in the tutorial.
I mean, basically, I loaded it up because I was like, let's get all my options out of the way and get everything set graphically and controls or whatever. Let's get this done. Let's install DSFix so that can work. You know, and I hit up James to see, hey, how did you have your settings? We're on very similar systems.
Yeah.
Thanks
for telling me about that, by the way, James.
Yeah.
About DSFix.
It makes all the difference in the world for playing it on a PC.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I didn't play it before I had installed it. I went ahead and installed that, and that's how I started it up. So I won't know how it was before that to know what kind of luxury I'm getting from having that installed. So,
but that's the thing. It shouldn't be a luxury. What DSFix does is it makes a couple of small changes and forces the game to act the way it just should be acting on the PC.
Yeah, Matt says play with a controller. I am.
Absolutely play with a controller.
Yeah.
I believe there are mods that make mouse and keyboard much more usable. They changed certain parameters about the input to make it a little bit better. But I think you should just, for the sake of consistency and comfort and predictability, you should just use a controller. It's absolutely meant to be used with a controller.
Yeah, in my case, I bought a wired Xbox controller for this one. Yeah, best plays with the controller.
Yeah.
And
No, I did. Again, that was another situation where I didn't start out playing it with any. I had my controller there, especially. I had my controller there because the first thing that happens is, Windows Live pops up, and much easier. Well, I say much easier to navigate, but whatever it has that feel of let me grab my controller and do this whole thing, and that's just how it worked. I will say that the other reason I started with that is because before I started Dark Souls, I was working on Witcher 2. And again, doing the same thing I was doing with Dark Souls. I was installing the full combat rebalance and working on getting my graphical options set the way I wanted them and that sort of thing. Just going through the regular stuff you go through before you ever start playing a new game on the PC. Taking care of all that stuff. And I started playing it with the mouse and keyboard, but the first time a radial menu popped up, I don't know. There was something. I mean, I was playing the tutorial, just the tutorial. That's it. And it still gave this overwhelming feel of you should really be playing this with a controller. Your mouse is very float. My mouse was very floaty. Moving it to a certain situation had this, not necessarily a lag to it, but it didn't feel as responsive as the first game with it. And immediately when I picked up controller, everything just really fell into place with what I was doing. So I had a controller. So as soon as I started up Dark Souls, I picked up the controller and started going through that. And I selected a warrior. I was just going through those things. I
did the same thing. I didn't know, and I find this to be a problem in almost all RPGs of this type that I play. There's so much variation in terms of how any particular RPG can present itself, how its combat is going to be arranged, whether the mechanics themselves of stat allocation, resource management, all of these things, that stuff can make plenty of sense to me. But I found very consistently that a melee-centric, melee-focused character is almost always easy to grasp from the off. Whatever it is, I'm always a little timid about magic use, because different games can handle it in a different way. Like it can be as simple as are the magic attacks instantaneous? Do they travel like projectiles? Are they incredibly powerful, but am I as a magic user incredibly weak? Is it going to be glass cannon? Is it going to be status effect kind of stuff or direct damage, damage over time? Is it going to be pet based or any of this other stuff? But I absolutely know. You give me a sword and board warrior, right? You put a shield in my left hand, a sword or a pike in my right hand, and I know how it's going to work to within a pretty fine degree of accuracy. So I did the same thing he did. I felt very comfortable. I was like, look at all these guys with the things that they are. And I see that you have like a thiefy type guy here, like a backstab knifey guy or whatever. Like, I don't know how this works. I don't know how the game's movement works.
I'm notorious for picking the wrong player at the start of a game.
Yeah.
Or at least picking the player that I'll see. Put it this way. Somebody else will pick a player that I contemplated picking, and I'll realize much too late that it was like, I should have gone that way. Right. And I didn't, that sort of thing. And how many times we were playing City of Heroes where I was like, I really should have went with a scrapper.
Yeah.
I got to sit back here with my beams and be kind of squishy. And there goes James into the thing. I want my action, and I couldn't get it. So I don't know. It was like, I'll just stick with warrior. I have no idea. This is it. You're going in blind. I mean, they do tell you some things about what the attributes of those guys are, but it's still one of those situations where I don't know what benefit that's going to have for me. I do know that everything I see about this game involves that first pick, the guy with the or is it a knight? Is he more of a knight?
Knight.
Everything I see about this game seems, shield in one hand, sword in the other. I've never seen a guy with a bow. Never seen this dude with the thief type. I don't see these other character types. I always see, Big strong man.
Warrior is an understandable archetype,
Yeah.
almost always. In almost any game, it's one of the easiest things to balance. It's one of the easiest sets of mechanics to manage. And again, for me, just as a player, I understand, but I can interface with it easier. I don't have to worry whether I misunderstood the intentions of the designer. I'm led to believe that magic use in Dark Souls is great, and if you can grok it well enough that even for a new player, it's really helpful because it you don't have to worry so much about the intimate, melee range mechanics of the game.
Yeah, in terms of the magic, I'm using a cleric, and the first thing, you get a spell right off the bat, healing. And a lot of the times you read about what these spells do and what they do for your character, but it doesn't tell you anything about how fast it casts or anything of that nature. You just have to use it first and then see for yourself. In terms of healing, first you have to equip the right equipment. You have to equip a talisman in your in one of your hands. Like usually I just swap my weapon for the talisman. And when I have it equipped, then the spells are active. And when I do use it, he has to kneel down. The circle, the mandala has to form around him, and then when the light flows up, then your healing starts. Well, while you're sitting there kneeling down, praying for a miracle, some zombie with a knife is coming up with a lunge and stab you right in the face. So what's the point of you trying to heal?
Right.
Does that game doesn't pause, does it?
No, it doesn't.
There is no pause.
There is no pause.
Well, and that is actually very, very fair because everything.
I was trying to do some text with you or something, and I'd started the game, and I hit my start button. It brought up a menu, but I still heard noises and stuff going on. I was like, I don't think that's paused.
No.
I mean, this is right at the beginning, and I thought, what if that thing over there rises up and tries to kill me? It just dropped down from the roof, but I don't know. What if they can come in through there? And then the more I messed around, I was like, this doesn't pause at all.
Yeah.
It's not to say that there aren't any safe areas. There actually is. You can carve out a place of safety very easily.
Yeah, or if
in the game,
or if you just find a bonfire and rest at it.
Yeah, you're fine. You're absolutely fine. But there is no, timing and proportion of time and everything is very much what the game is about. Positioning and everything. It very much is about those things. There are elements of what makes actual combat of this type, medieval style swords and spears type of stuff. Real. There is guard and parry and thrust, riposte, slash. It depends on what kind of weapon, where you are fighting can kind of change what sort of weapon you want to be using. It is. I do understand, absolutely. I absolutely am a convert and understand completely everything that everyone has said about it.
I mean, I've seen videos on YouTube about how to play PvP, and a lot of things they talk about, it, like you said, positioning. If he's using this type of weapon, you want to stand here. If he's using that type, you want here because the swing on this thing has an angle where you have to stand here and you can't, so on and so on. So real in-depth technical aspects of how you want to use this weapon and whatnot. So yeah, there's a real technical there's real technical about how you use the equipment you got on hand.
Well, we're going to be streaming some of that, and maybe tomorrow we'll do that. I don't know. I've had a great time streaming some pinball. I've enjoyed that a whole lot.
I would really recommend everybody check out our YouTube channel. Scott's. Now listen to me.
We did that as a test. We just let's see if it works. I know how to play pinball. We'll do that.
Right. Let me just suggest this for you. I understand it's pinball.
I know.
Don't worry about that. It's pinball. Just trust that an interesting thing is an interesting thing. Scott, if you've been listening to this long enough, you understand that I cannot drag with any amount of force out of Scott how he feels about most things. Hey, what did you think about this, Scott? I don't know. I liked it. That's about as good as it'll get, right? For whatever reason. But with pinball is actually one of his passions, and it's kind of exists on a continuum through most of his life. Virtual pinball, real world pinball, the whole thing. It's a real thing. And so to have Scott sit down in front of the tables and play them and stream them with some real knowledge about how it works, because I have none. I have no experience with or desire to learn about pinball, except, when somebody who finds it interesting relays that passion to me. That's a lot of this can be very good, even if it isn't something you're interested in. So there's a handful of really good videos of him playing Pinball FX2, the Steam version, and several of those tables on our YouTube channel. So I would check it out because it's fascinating to find yourself sitting down in front of a Let's Play of pinball, and it's actually incredibly engaging and really, really good and fairly tense and rewarding in almost way. And the tables are fantastic. I mean, even without caring, it's incredibly fun to watch what they are and what they do.
Well, it's a fun learning experience as a player. This is, and again, I talk about these when I'm doing my streams, because there are times when the game's going along and it's getting kind of serious and intense, and I will shut up for a minute because I completely forget that I should talk about this. I don't need to, but a situation of I should talk about what I'm feeling right now and how this is going on, what I'm trying to do on the table. I should really describe that instead of just doing it. And when it gets intense like that, I sometimes forget because I'm way too focused in trying to reach the lane, trigger this, do that, whatever the case. So one of the draws to pinball, one of those things that just continues to bring me back to a table, physical or unrealistic or whatever these things, whatever you want to, simulations, that sort of thing, is the experience of a table. If I go anywhere, I can look up, there's a pinball database where you can look up, if you're in a certain area, you can type in a zip code, the name of it, and it's all user submitted. People can find out and submit, hey, this place over here has these two tables that you can go play, or this table. It's not in great shape. The left flipper's broken or something like that, but whatever. It was out of order last time I was there, something like that. So you can go and experience these things. The fun thing is discovering the secrets that all these tables have. Trying to, one of the best ones, you've got Black Knight 2000, which has dual levels. It has a table on the bottom, and then it has an upper table, which is one of the first that ever had that. And these are physical types tables. The Apollo 13 table has a 13-ball multi-ball to get to. It is the most multi-balls in any table that you can find. Bride of Pinbot has a billion score activator to get a billion points. You can get into the Billionaires Club with Bride of Pinbot. And it's all these great things, and it's just the experience of discovering the secrets that each table holds. And it works the same way on electronics like Zen Pinball or Pinball Effects, or I described this in the play, is that there's essentially, for me, there's two companies. There is a third. There's a third company, and I don't know their name, but they're currently working on a Kickstarter for Time Shock is the name of the table. And I believe the name of their business is Pro Pinball, is the name of their company. Or at least it was. They were the first ones to bring pinball simulation to PC. And this was way back, you're going 15 years ago. Long time ago. They had a couple of tables that they released, and then nothing ever happened. But they're trying to kickstart that. The other two players in this whole thing are Farsight Studios and Zen Studios. We've interviewed Zen Studios here. Zen Studios have cornered the market on fantasy tables that don't exist in real life. They've got the Marvel license, so they can make brand new tables based on Marvel properties. They've got the Star Wars license, so they can make brand new tables based on the Star Wars properties. I think they're under contract for like 10 tables. They've got 3. Another 3 are coming out very, very soon. And then they'll do some more. But they've really cornered that market on the fantasy tables that just don't exist in real life. Farsight is a great company. They do a lot of stuff through Kickstarter so that they can do this. What they do is they do not electronic recreations, but essentially that. They take real-world tables and digitize them for you to play. So if you've never played, some of these tables you can't find anymore. You can only go play them at a museum. But a lot of them are on the Pinball Arcade, which is the name of their game. It's kind of a hub, a lot like Pinball Effects 2 is. You download Pinball Effects, and then you can buy tables separately to put in there. Pinball Arcade is the same way. You can download all these tables and then put them in there. But they do replicas of real-world tables. And that's a great thing, too. They've already been greenlit on Steam, so they're going to be showing up, so I'll be doing those as well. Tables like Funhouse, which is the first table I ever played in my life. It's the one that got me to play in pinball. Addams Family, which is highly regarded, that and Twilight Zone, highly regarded as one of the most sought-after pinball experiences that you can have. They just did Terminator 2, Judgment Day. That's going to make it. They've got Star Trek, The Next Generation tables. Just great stuff for them, and I look forward to playing them. But the fun of that is experiencing what these tables hold as their secrets. For me, that's what it is. Like seeing the ball save for Fantastic Four was great. The table sinks in, and then
there's
Mr.
like a warp effect in the center, and then Mr. Fantastic reaches down,
stretches his arm, brings the ball back, and gives it to. Just great little things that they do.
Really good spectacle, in addition to being a solid game.
And not to mention the Infinity Gauntlet table. You got to see some of the things that does. These are things that no real pinball table could ever do. Infinity Gauntlet's based on a Marvel big crossover epic story thing that happened.
Thanos.
Yeah. Okay, you're familiar. Yeah. Good. For those that aren't, Infinity Gauntlet, Thanos, you can look that up, but it's like a 6-issue miniseries that really shook Marvel back in the late 80s, early 90s. But anyway, the gems of the Infinity Gauntlet control all these different things, and if you hit the ball in a right place enough times, it'll activate a different feature on the machine. Like for instance, one of these, and you can go back and look at these on the videos that we've done, is the flippers will be, you know how the flippers at rest, they're just there. They will not be at rest. It reverses that. So they're constantly raised.
Like engaged?
They're constantly engaged, and you have to pull the trigger to lay them flat. Mm-hmm. So it reverses that on you. It's very difficult to do.
Time gem?
No, the time gem will slow time, but only during certain actions that you've done.
Okay.
There is the time gem, and it'll only do that. The reality gem flips the table upside down.
Okay.
And reverses the view. In other words, you know how you have the view from the flippers up?
Yeah.
Well, flip that upside down and then turn it 180 degrees.
Woof.
And then you're trying to shoot the ball towards, it's really confusing stuff, but really fun.
Okay.
So I never enjoyed playing that table on the 360, but for some reason I enjoyed and did great on the PC. Anyway, we got to go. We're running out of time. So this is what happens when you get me talking about
From
pinball.
now on, when you come back from a conference or an expo,
you want that, don't you?
Explain it like it's pinball, Scott.
Exactly.
That's what you're going to have to do from now on.
Well, thanks everybody for joining us in the chat room, as well as everyone listening on the stream and on the radios. Thank you to everybody who grabs us every week from iTunes or however you get our show for later use. We really appreciate it. Don't forget to join us on Twitter or on Facebook or the forums over at colonyofgamers.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, which we just talked a lot about. And if you're on Steam, we've got a Steam group you can join up with over there and play games with us and other listeners. Thanks, everybody. We will see you next Saturday.